Hello, YouTube. I am back with another video, but this time it's another talking video, and as you can see from the title of this video, it's random thoughts. I have my journal. I love journaling stuff and writing my thoughts. I feel like it's an escape, but I found myself not really journaling as much recently because I don't know, like when I get in a period of where I'm stuck or like I'm unsure or I don't know, I can't write. I can't pick up a pen and I can't write. But if I can't write, I can talk. And I feel like this is the only space besides journaling that I can let out what's in here. And I have a lot to say. I always have a lot to say, and the reason why I enjoy making these types of videos now is because somebody will find it and, they will be able to relate to what I'm saying, I hope. But also it just feels really good to just talk, and then I can look back at this a month from now and, be like, whoa, what the heck was I going through? But today, I have a bunch of stuff in my journal that I have written, but I had an idea to make this video, and when I'm in a moment of where I'm thinking, it's best to write it down on paper. And this morning before class, I had this idea, and I was like, I'm gonna write this down. So, I'm gonna talk about the first thing that I wrote, and it's Instagram, reactivating my Instagram. So I had it deactivated for I feel like I had it deactivated for 2 to 3 months, and it felt so good to do it. I remember I actually made a YouTube video on this channel, learning how to be in your own company. You can also check that out. And I talked about me deactivating my Instagram account and why I felt like I needed to deactivate it. And it felt so good because I felt like I can just escape. And the minute I deactivated my Instagram account, nobody knows. I remember people I was working with were like, oh, did you see this? Da, 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 or let me tag you in this, or blah, blah, blah. I deactivated that Instagram account, and they were like, oh, really? And it made me realize, people, out of sight, out of mind, people don't really pay attention. They don't care, and it's nothing personal or nothing bad. It's they just don't care. We just don't care. And honestly, that's me. And it was kind of nice to just disappear and no one even knew. And it's crazy how deactivating Instagram, you can literally people don't know what you're doing, and they don't have to. And I just like the idea of people not really knowing what I was doing. Not that I posted on there anyways, but the time that I made the video on learning how to be in your own company, around that time, which was last year, I was actually posting more on Instagram. I was getting people's Instagrams, I was connecting, and it just was overwhelming for me. And after a while, I just felt like this wasn't true for me. I didn't feel like this was me. Nothing on my Instagram page didn't feel like it just didn't feel real. I just didn't like how it was. It just felt like I was just forcing a lot of stuff. And so I deactivated it. And I also wanted to just quiet my world a little bit, because I realized a lot of people use Instagram more than they use TikTok. And the moment I stopped using Instagram was the moment that, or the moment I deactivated my Instagram was the moment that people had less access to me. If you really wanted to say something to me, you would find a way to do it. If it was very important, you wouldn't use Instagram. You would be like, oh, do you know what Diamond's doing, or blah blah blah, can you let her know, blah blah blah. And knowing that is kind of nice, because the people that really, want to stay in your circle, or really have something to say to you, they will find a way to ask you. So yeah, I wrote down reactivating my Instagram. So I reactivated it about a day. I reactivated it yesterday, and wrong decision, but I needed to post these photos, which I still haven't posted, and I'm anxious. I was overwhelmed because seeing everyone's Instagram, I was just like, oh, this is just, I don't like it. It's like people aren't real on there, and it's nothing personal. This is just how my brain works. This is just how I see life, and this is through my eyes. That's why this channel is called ThroughDiamondsEyes. But this is just what I see, and I realize, like, I don't really want to be involved in all of that kind of stuff. And I just feel like people's lives they're real, but they don't seem true to themselves, and in the end, this is not personal. This is just like how I see things. And I realized, like, I knew the moment, like, Instagram wasn't for me was when, like, I didn't really care about showing what I was doing. I didn't care about the drink I had. I didn't care about any of that, because at the end of the day, who was I doing it for? Like, it doesn't really matter. I would always try to, like, post something, and I'm like, I didn't feel like I was doing it for myself. I felt like I was doing it for someone, but, like, there was no one. I don't know. I just yap. I just yap. But yeah, I reactivated it. It's there. No one knows I got it back. I might actually just, like, deactivate that account again, because my life is just quiet. And it's crazy because, people might be like, well, why do you have TikTok? I have TikTok because it seems like less people use TikTok and more people are on Instagram. And I realized, like, more people, it's easier for them to post pictures than to post videos. And there's a lot of videos on TikTok. And I realized a lot of people can't sit down and, talk about, what their favorite ice cream is, or something random. They can only just post pictures because, they want the world to see that their life is great. And who wouldn't? We don't want anyone to see that our life is a mess, but sometimes you need those people. And for me, I'm just always going to be very real, and my life is not perfect. And that's why I'm also making this video, because if anyone finds this video, I want you to know that you are not alone. And yeah, I'm also going through it too. But I have the courage to sit here and talk about it in a video and dive deep into deeper conversations on these topics, because some people don't want to, or just don't. And sometimes we just have to confront those things. And yeah. What is a big girl job? So recently, I work at a retail store. Full-time job, assistant manager. 5 days a week, okay? And, my life is very repetitive, like, each day. Like, it's the same day every day. But I'm grateful because I have a job, I have a car that can take me from this place to this place, especially living in LA. this girl, she told me, like, if she asked if we're hiring, I said no, but there are some other locations that are hiring. And she said, well, I'm spaced out. She said that she works in PR, and she asked how much we get paid. And I told her the amount, and she said that's more than her PR job. And keep in mind, like, the job she works for is a 9 to 5 with weekends off. And I was like, in my head, I was like, that's nice. She has weekends off, like, she can spend all her time. But she told me, she was like, you kind of have a big girl job because you get paid this much. You're doing all these visuals, you're doing all these things. It's, she's like, you'd be perfect in PR. But she was like, this is kind of like a big girl job. And I paused for a second. I was like, not really. But then I was like, I get what she's saying. And it made me think, like, what even is a big girl job anymore? Like, what is that? Like, yeah, what is a big girl job anymore, especially in our economy and, like, the way that things are going? Because, a lot of these big girl jobs, out of college jobs, careers, are paying less than working at In-N-Out. That pays, like, I think they pay 21. Chick-fil-A is also in that range. Other places like my job that pay really great, and it's like, it's decreasing the value of what a big girl job means and what even, like, going to school means, but that's a separate thing. But big girl job. And it made me think, like, I don't really want to work a 9 to 5. I don't want to work Monday through Friday, the same day every day with weekends off. That sounds really nice. But as I'm getting older and the more I'm working and in school, I realize I don't want to do that. I kind of want my day to be different every day. I don't want to follow that propaganda, but at the same time, that might be the only thing that is available to me in the field that I'm going into. And I would have to accept it, but I don't want to, Yeah, so I guess this is a sign for you not to stress out. If you're still working at your regular, you're, serving at a restaurant, if you're a host, whatever, if you work at any fast food jobs, whatever it is, honestly, it's a job. And this made me realize, like, most of us have to work to, survive, to pay our bills, because of how expensive it is to live in LA. And, most of us are providing not only a roof over our head, but are paying off, maybe a car, or, like, car insurance, or just, like, other stuff. And it's like, you can't even enjoy chasing your dreams or chasing that career you want, because you're also fighting for your life. Every month, is my rent gonna get paid? And honestly, that's why I'm just kind of going with the flow. I don't really care, where my life goes. In the end, I just want happiness. That's what I want. The next thing I wrote in my journal is staying locked in and keeping to yourself. This year, I'm just locking in and really just, I've always kept to myself, but I feel like even at work or just, like, in general, I overshare sometimes a bit too much. And not overshare anything personal, but I think sometimes it's best to keep your opinions to yourself, and even your thoughts. Sometimes not everyone deserves to hear it, or it's not even necessary, because I feel like when you're just, especially on a situation that's unnecessary, you're wasting your energy. And the more you learn how to move in silence and Now, if you're passionate about something, share that with the world. What I mean by moving in silence is like, you don't always have to share like everything that you're doing or a plan or something that you want to do, because I believe that a lot of people pray for your downfall. You got ops out here. I do too. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but when you talk about something, it never actually goes how you planned it. Especially if you talked about it with someone like at your job, or especially your job, like people that are not really like your friends, you know? It's because secretly people, they don't want to see you succeed. So you got to keep things quiet. And that's not like everyone, it's just, like you just feel it. So that's why I'm just keep certain things to myself. And if people find what I'm doing somehow through another social media page or through a friend or something, great. It's gonna be kind of cool when like suddenly I blow up and somebody's like, I didn't know you were doing this. Yeah, there's a reason why you didn't know I was doing this, because you don't want me to succeed. You secretly envy me. And that's just how it is. And that's why we gotta stay locked in and, but, don't be afraid to share your passions, but also watch out who you're telling, because you can't trust everyone. So I guess these next couple of things kind of correlate with working, having to provide for yourself and working like a full-time job, but also balancing school, and how it affects, me wanting to hang out, my relationships with people. Um, like I work 5 days a week, okay? It's not by choice, but because I have to. It's what's enough to pay everything that I have, to make a sufficient amount of money to satisfy my bills or whatever I need for the month. And it's hard when you're also trying to get an education, because, you kind of I have to fit my 5 days all the time with my school schedule, and it sucks so bad. But it's like, who else is going to do it if not I, And I can't make excuses, I just don't come from that background where, everything is paid for me. I wish that was me. I wish it was me. I really do. But at the same time, we always wish for things we don't have, instead of being grateful in the moment and being grateful for what we do have. And I realized, like, I don't have time to hang out with people anymore, and it's hard for me to make friends because I'm really bad at like responding to texts. You have to be the person that's good at planning, because it will force me. If not, I will stay at home in my bed and do things that I have to get done. And yeah, because other than that, I don't hang out with people. I don't go to bars. I don't go to clubs. I don't do any of that. I also just feel like I don't belong in those spaces. I feel like those are very low vibrational spaces. Now, it depends. Like, if it's something more classy and cool where I'm around really cool, creative people, yes. But the partying and going to clubs, for me, I always try to force myself to like it. And I thought it was because, I wasn't really allowed to do stuff like that growing up. But then after I graduated high school, and now that I'm 22, going to be 23 this year, I've always just am honest now and tell people it's just not my space. I don't belong in those spaces. For me, they give very low vibrational spaces. I feel like for me, I think I'm very special, and I don't think I need to be in those kinds of spaces, because the times that I realized I would come home drained, and like I felt like everyone's energy was on me, and I just felt like I didn't like myself, and it made me wake up and realize those spaces are just not for me, and I can't force myself to party and, go clubbing like everyone else does at my age, which if you do, there is nothing wrong with that. It's just there are some people like me who just feel like that, I'm not, and I'm telling, the truth. This is me, like, And I'm proud of it. I don't care about anyone else's opinion. I don't like being in those spaces. I just don't. And I'm kind of glad because I save money. So, but yeah, I noticed like I push away a lot of people because, you know, I have to work. You know, and a lot of people that I meet are so privileged. They don't have to work as much. And especially at my school, like people that I've met at my school, I'm somewhat jealous of them because, you know, this is the thing about reactivating my Instagram, just seeing what everyone's doing with their lives and seeing that they can have fun, and while I gotta go clock in on my shift on a Saturday. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because I'm not asking for people to feel bad. It's just the reality. But, you know, I've, you know, went to school with people who just don't have to work at all. Parents are still paying, you know, at least it's not even them paying for their school and like their rent and stuff. It's just their parents are like, you don't have to work, I will give you money. And it kind of sucks because I can never be friends with people like that because we just don't. And not all people, it depends, like, but most of them that I've met, we just can't be friends. Like, we're not going to relate, and it never works out. It never ever works out. And it sucks a lot because I'm always losing great friends. But at the end of the day, you know, I have to put my priorities first. And that's me, because at the end of the day, you're not paying, you know, for my rent. You're not paying for this. So when I can't show up to your hangout or do this or hang out with you on a nice sunny day, it's not because I don't want to. It's literally because I have priorities. I have a job that I need to work. I have rent that's due every month. I have all my utilities that are due every month, my car note, my insurance, all that stuff that I'm paying for, that I go to work 5 days a week for, to survive in this economy. And I'm doing all that, and I'm sacrificing a lot of things. But I came to a realization that I also quite enjoy my lifestyle. It's very quiet, you know? And people were like, oh, well, it's your day off this day. You could do this, do that, and that. And that kind of goes into my next topic of, you know, living in your own apartment in your 20s, 22. I roommate with my sister, but we both provide, you know, for each other. We're our foundation. You know, we are creating our foundation for us. And, you know, yeah, I might have this random Tuesday off or this random Friday off. But people don't realize, like, I just worked 8-hour shifts the other days. And this is the day off that I can actually do what I need to do in my apartment. People don't understand, when you live on your own, just because you have a day off doesn't mean that you can go out and just like spend the entire day. It's not that easy. Or it doesn't mean that you can have people over. It's not that easy. When you're living on your own, it comes with responsibilities. You have laundry to do. You have dishes to do. You have to clean your apartment because it does get dirty or messy quite frequently. And it's better to have a clean space. My room right now is freaking mess, and I have to freaking clean it. My living room's a mess after I just kept up with it. But we have those moments, you know. I always have something to do because at the end of the day, I live on my own. I'm an adult. I always have things that I have to do. And unfortunately, I will not hang out with you just so I can get those things done, because I know the next 3 days or whatever I'm going to have to go to class or go to work. And when I go to work, I get, you know, my store closes at 7, but I'm like out by 7:30 or 8. You know, it takes freaking 20 minutes to find a good fucking parking spot in my neighborhood, so I'm not home till about 9 now. And at 9, by that time, I don't want to go out. I don't see that. I want to go to bed. I want to watch a movie. I want to fucking smoke weed. Like, I don't want I don't care to hang out with you, and it's nothing personal. It's just, when you live this lifestyle, when you live a lifestyle like my lifestyle, you literally, quite literally, learn how to enjoy your own company. And I am such a homebody in a way where on my days off, I do like to keep to myself. And if I hang out with you, you are very lucky, because my time for people is very precious. And if I choose for how many hours out of my day to hang out with you, it's because I actually do enjoy you, or enjoy being with you, and you make me feel like I'm not going crazy. I guess that's all I wrote in here, but I feel like an outsider sometimes, because my whole life I've been fighting, and it's like, when is that fight gonna end? I don't know. And I don't know. I just want to be able to be successful and make money. And right now, even with doing school, it's hard to do projects. It's hard to do a lot of my homework, because, I can't even help my other friends or classmates with their film projects or certain things, because, I have a job. I put my schedule in advance because I committed to those times and days. And so when someone comes up to me and is like, hey, can you think you can shoot this project on this day? I'm also assistant manager. I have responsibility. I could probably find a cover, but I probably won't be able to get a cover. I prefer, having that day off rather than getting a cover. But then if I have that day off, I need to find another day to replace, because if I'm missing even one day, my check could be very low the next pay period. And it's just stuff like that, that stresses me out and makes me feel like I'm the only one, at least in my circle of people I've met, that I'm battling with this. And I didn't ask for any of this. And so if you're going through this too, I just want to let you know, like, you're not the only one. And making this makes me feel better because I'm getting it out, but also putting it online for people to see. I'm proud of, because this is the real me. I only want people to know me as the real me. There's no other me than this. This is how I've always been, and I want to continue to share my ideas, to share my thoughts, to share the way my brain works, in hopes that other people are also feeling the same. And even if you're not going through this, I feel like you should be watching stuff like this, because you need to open up your perspective. So that when you meet someone who maybe doesn't come from the same background as you, you're more mindful. You understand, Because if I was some rich girl, or if I came from a background of wealthy parents and they paid for my school and they paid for this and blah, 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 I feel like I would take the time to educate myself and be mindful, and I would be so grateful. This is why time is a precious thing. If you have a lot of time, that's a privilege, because most of us don't have time. Okay, I'm working 5 days a week. The other days I have my classes, okay? And I don't have any days off, really. My days off are the days that I have classes that end in the afternoon, but by the time I get home, it's freaking late, the sun is going down, and I don't want to do anything, and it's just like, I could go hang out and do this, but it's like, I need this homework assignment that I need to do, because I know the next day I'm going to be at work and I'm not going to want to come home and work on an assignment. So that's why, if you have time, please be so appreciative of the time, because if I had time, if I didn't have to work a lot, and I didn't have to worry about money or any of that stuff, I literally would go out and do things and take advantage of, doing things that will elevate my career and get me in that industry that I want to be at, and meet more people if I had that time. but I can't because it's so hard, you know? I can't go to certain networking events. I can't go to certain things that my school's holding just for fun because I have work. And it really fucking sucks. It really fucking sucks. I don't know. What I wrote in here was you know, dipping yourself into your creative projects. You need to be doing stuff outside of just what you're doing, because it will help you find a balance in this peace. And all I want is really in the end is happiness. I just want to be happy. I just want to be comfortable. You know, I don't care of having a big house or a fancy car, you know, although those things are very nice. All I want is the money to give me that comfort, to not have to worry, you know, so that if I do decide to have a family one day, I can provide them what I never had. But I don't know, these are just my random thoughts that I have, and I've been talking for 33 minutes, and it is 11 p.m., which is a great way to end my night because I'm about to go to sleep. Actually, what I'm about to do is eat this tangerine, brush my teeth, and go to sleep. But I've ran out of juice. I don't know what else to say. If you ran into this video, I hope that you enjoyed and you took something from it, and I think you should just open up your computer or your phone or your camera and talk, or anything.